Greetings. Welcome to the captive desk. In hell. The crime? What could have caused such wrath to befall the captive desk, dooming me for all eternity? Why, for daring to question a faith healing claim made by and repeated by religious people who took a wonderful story of healing from head trauma, thanks to doctors and physical therapists, and turned it into a lie for money, that it was a miraculous healing thanks to a faith-healing pastor that has a direct connection with God's electrical healing power, often on display in front of huge audiences and for lots of money.
So let's start at the beginning of the day, before I was wished to eternal trolling for being uninformed, a liar, and hurting some believers in faith healing's feelings. That was not my intent. I was watching a video posted by a believer in miracle healings, claiming a miracle healing of Delia Knox, with no other explanation but it has to be God. A paralyzed woman gets out of a wheelchair she had been in for 22 years and walks. Wow, interesting. So being curious, a few keystrokes later, and the internet says, sure enough, this woman is walking after 22 years in a wheelchair. Good for her. There's video of her in a wheelchair, and there is video of her walking around now, in heels. She sure is walking again. I was and am happy for her. I cannot think of anyone that doesn't want to see more people get out of wheelchairs. Great story. Good to hear. I want to say that as a skeptic, and because the video would get real long playing all the videos and reading all the articles, please look them up, read them, and watch them yourself, and draw your own conclusions. In this video are my conclusions, and I will provide some clips from the people involved with their own words. Please also check them yourself if there is any question about any of the wording being out of context from any of the video clips. I'll attach some links in the description. Delia's story begins with being raised in a very religious family, where miracles were believed to be a regular occurrence around their family. In 1987, Delia traveled to Toronto to visit with her parents for Christmas, and it seems bad luck followed her that day. There was an automobile accident. The vehicle rolled, and Delia woke up in the hospital. Other passengers, it seems, only received minor injuries. But Delia couldn't move her legs, couldn't talk or use her arms correctly, and so a weekend visit turned into 8 months in hospital. Delia, in a video telling her story, says she received a head injury.
As it went into the ditch, I received a head injury there.
That she remembered little but waking up in the hospital, even though it was reported to be many other things, and almost exclusively religious articles, blogs, and videos, saying things like it was nerve damage, spinal injury, irreversible paralysis, and sometimes with Delia present, and she didn't correct it. Surely pastors and numerous Christian sources wouldn't fib, cherry-pick, or exaggerate to spin the story to their own advantage in any way. Or maybe they would. In a video of Delia, after the time in hospital telling her story, she has regained her speech and very well. She is a singer and can sing again, and her arms were fully functional again. As time moves on, she seems to move more at the waist when singing at church and in studio, moving in her wheelchair to and fro with the music and song. There are videos of Delia at physical therapy and of her working out in other places, including outside. showing progress to a point of her standing up with a bit of assistance at physical therapy.
Am I going to waver, or am I going to trust in the one who has brought me through so much?
She also seems to show good muscle definition and muscle mass, not only in her upper body, but in her legs as well. A great story so far. Good for the doctors and therapists, and good for her. That is a lot of hard work, and it paid off. There is video of Delia saying she was discharged from therapy.
You know, when I was discharged from the rehabilitation center, which was every kind of rehab you could think of, occupational therapy, psychological therapy, every kind of therapy you could think of.
I do not think those still confined to wheelchairs are usually discharged from therapy. Today's medicine frowns on muscle atrophy with people who are injured. They go to therapy, and for good reasons. For the overall health of the patients, and in some cases, there are more people these days who heal, thanks to new technology, understandings of injuries, and innovative therapies that helps folks get out of those chairs. Hooray and hurrah to all those in modern medicine, including physical therapies, and all those who have designed them and work with patients every day. Salute. Thank you. To the patients in physical therapy, hang in there. And to those who have great success stories, you are an inspiration to others. And I hope many more will follow in their own footsteps out of physical rehabilitation too in the future. Now let's get to the claim of a miracle healing part of the story. There is a video of Delia Knox at a revival, supposedly being healed and getting up out of her wheelchair via God, via Jesus, via a pastor that gave her the divine energy, electricity to heal her.
This dear sister has nerve damage, and the Lord is restoring the sensation in her legs. Keep worshiping, come on.
This is when I got doomed to hell, so you may want to take heed if you watch this video any further. If you dare to question miraculous healings or those who repeat the claims, you may be doomed to hell. Express elevator down, no stops. Please proceed at your own risk. For me, questions ensue right off watching videos with claims of a miraculous healing, while also seeing videos of progress from not talking or moving her arms correctly to singing and moving her arms perfectly well, to rocking back and forth in her wheelchair at the hips, to videos of her working out with therapists and making progress with her legs and standing up, all before going to a revival. What I saw was a hard-working, determined person at physical rehabilitation that recovered from her injuries, even if it took a lot of years of hard work and the time for the brain to reconnect with the body after serious trauma and through modern medical care. Delia Knox also says she was recommended for psychiatric care by her doctors.
Everything I would do, they would attribute it to my head injury. I would close myself in the room and cry out unto the Lord. And the psychologist would write, "This is abnormal behavior." And I would go to church, and sometimes they would send someone with me, and they had to review my behavior and everything, you know, because that was therapy. And they would write down, "This is abnormal behavior." As I would raise my arms up to the heavens and cry out to the only friend that I could really cry out to, they would say, "This is abnormal behavior."
That would match both dealing with a traumatic brain injury issue physically and to check her mental health and cognition status. It was also reported that she was acting strangely in her follow-ups by psychiatrists with her peers. Her explanation being she was praying a lot. Why church members would think praying a lot was odd behavior, doesn't seem to make sense. One would think they would see praying as acceptable behavior at church and at hospital too. What exactly the odd behaviors were is unclear. There is video of Delia Knox saying had she known it was a revival, she wouldn't have gone.
Had I known it was a healing service, I have to be honest, I would have never gone.
There is also video of her husband Levi saying that going to the revival was scheduled a month in advance. He was to speak there and to bring his wife Delia.
But it was 22 and a half years later, August the 27th, in this revival, God broke forth from the time, eternity into time. The kingdom of God came in this time, space, world, and brought out a demonstration of the power of God. And I believe now he's turning attention back to the church. God is arresting attention to the world. He's still Lord, he's still King. And so you came back and called me up and said, hey. And so you came back and you called me up and you said, hey, did I hear that something's going on? I said, yeah. I said, man, the power of God's moving. He said, tell the people what you told me on the phone. Well, I said, Apostle John, I said, the Spirit of God spoke to me on the 1st of August. I was in prayer and meditation and spending time in the presence of God. And the Lord spoke a prophetic word to me. This is what the Lord says, I'm sending a fresh wind across the land. He says, turn your face to the earth, and allow the Spirit to help you to high dimension. And I believe the Spirit was a powerful moment, opportunity season. And so I believe the Spirit of God that Friday night. But what I heard in your voice, though, whenever you called me and you said, the Lord told me to put my face in the wind of revival, I heard a passion in your voice, and I've been knowing you for years, but I heard a passion in your voice. And I had no idea. I wasn't even thinking about Lady Delia at all.
Was she not informed? Is her memory impaired? Or is she not being honest? Delia's husband Levi spoke to one of the pastors involved with the revival a month before the miraculous healing, saying something special was coming from God, and was asked to join the revival and speak, and to bring his wife. Yet, the healing pastor at the revival, who has the ear of God, and that God sends powers to heal through him, acted ignorant that the woman sitting next to the invited bishop, Levi her husband, was his wife, even though it was well known his wife was in a wheelchair and they were invited to the event. He asked, "Is this woman sitting next to you your wife? Bring her up here." And the healing begins with what seems like some prayers and touching her legs for a head injury healing.
Suddenly I felt we just got to pray for a gentleman that had just shared on the pulpit. I knew him to be a bishop. His name was Bishop Delia Knox. Suddenly the power of God began to fill that room, and the thick glory of God, it was like someone was dangling a cable, a high voltage cable, and I felt like the cable was zoom, zoom, zoom. And I kept feeling surges of power go through my body. And I remember there was a lady in a wheelchair sat next to Bishop. And I remember saying to the bishop, "Is that your wife?" He said to me, "Yes." I said, "Bring your wife." I didn't know it, but that dear lady, Sister Delia Knox.
The healing continues with her struggling to get up, and then getting up with assistance, then slowly moving more and more. It's a miracle. The praises to Jesus ring out. The video continues with Delia sitting on the floor looking exhausted, as the healing pastor on stage says her spine is healing for a head injury.
There's a recreative thing happening in her spine right now. Come on, give Jesus some praise.
And that's from Jesus through the pastor's lips that he is healing her spine for a head injury. I will also mention that Levi, her husband, is a faith healer. But his wife was in a wheelchair for how many years? And the faith healers run in the same circles. They know each other. They go to each other's events. That circle they roll in includes Sid Roth, that believes everyone who makes a claim is telling the absolute truth and puts them all on his show called It's Supernatural, and sells it all as 100% truth, no matter the claim. If you do not know who Sid Roth is, look him up. Levi is also a prosperity gospel preacher. In a nutshell, they peddle, if you give me $1, God will send you back 10. I am not saying Levi used Delia for his own advantages and would hope he genuinely loved the woman he married in a wheelchair, making steady progress in healing with and from head trauma that was deemed by her peers to not be acting right and maybe doesn't make the best decisions herself. There just isn't the medical information available, nor would I claim to know the man's heart. I do not take lightly mentioning it, but it is not beyond the realms of possibilities among faith healers and prosperity gospel preachers who hold money over and above everything else, including other people, their faith, and having any ounce of integrity. While trying to find a net worth for the Knoxes and Nathan Morris, who claimed to have healed Delia Knox, proved difficult to find, other faith healers like Benny Hinn are estimated to be worth between $40 to $60 million, among many others. So there is a lot of money to be made in faith healing. I will point out the Knoxes are looking well these days, well-groomed, well-dressed. Their videos are of high-quality productions, and they travel doing healings. Delia is the big draw, as surely she has the healing powers of Jesus flowing from her body. And it seems to be very powerful indeed, as the people she is smacking in the forehead these days fall down and flail like they have been electrocuted. And they get paid for these events. Delia also has her own women's organization, going strong, branched out from Levi's church. Would this all have happened if Delia's story was, she worked hard, and thanks to modern medicine and modern therapies, she is walking again? Would that story have given her the same power to electrocute large audiences of people through their foreheads when she touches them? Would Levi be right there riding her shadow, smacking people in the head too, and making lots of money at it? How much? Good luck finding out tax-free money information for faith healers. The way it looks, from what I could find, faith healers all list about $30K in income a year, while having hundreds of thousands or millions listed in assets, and traveling around the country and to other countries to revivals isn't cheap to do, and I don't think any faith healers or prosperity gospel preachers do anything for free or for cheap. Some charge thousands of dollars for private healing sessions. What this miracle healing story seems to be is she slowly recovered from head trauma. As her speech, then her arms, then her waist, and then her legs recovered. All the while, she and her therapists working to keep it all moving and keeping her muscles in shape, and it worked. Medical records aren't released either, so best guess is what would align with what happened. Delia said she had a head injury. It is a recoverable injury in certain cases, especially with lots of physical therapy, as Delia got and did. She mentioned she did every kind of therapy there was, and worked hard at it as she was discharged from rehabilitation and as a success story, like walking out from a place she was wheeled into. It seems that perhaps she may have stayed in that wheelchair for at least another 26 days than she needed to have the big reveal at a revival, and for the press at her parents' house. Well planned in advance in both cases, with lots of folks and lots of cameras that I do not think would have been outside of the rehab center. I think a great story of hard work, determination, medical advances, and yes, even praying, if it helped her get through each day of it too, was soiled by charlatans lying to people about what Delia's condition was. That she had steadily improved, that she rose up at physical therapy without the healing pastor man around, and then someone put on a big show for the press, knowing it would make Delia a big name in faith healing circles and be a big draw, a money maker. And she still is to this day. What do you think? Was it a miracle healing? Was it modern medicine along with physical therapy and a lot of hard work? Was a great story of getting out of a wheelchair and walking again, soiled by religious charlatans? I would like to hear from you in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, let me know. Give it a thumbs up. And subscribe with a bell to get notifications for future videos. I'll see you then.